Hello and welcome to the Dire Gentleman channel. I'm here with showrunner Meg Tootin. Meg, have you ever contemplated the nature of good and evil?
Perhaps. Sometimes I'm a bit like the Joker.
Cause I've heard that good is the strongest alignment morally.
And the second strongest is evil.
Is evil! Those who cannot be good need something to evil instead.
Genuinely, this is like the caliber of discussion that happens in this film that I am about to tell you about, guys.
I, for one, have never contemplated the nature of good and evil, so I want to learn about it in the school of good and evil.
I mean, okay, Henry and Gus, you two guys have been, you've been to hell of a boss hell quite a few times.
Yes.
You've heard that old chestnut. Well, it's whatever. They're from hell.
It's hell. I mean, with literally the channel slogan also, it's hell.
Yeah, it's hell. Okay. So basically,
break down the moral dimensions for me. What's going on here? Good, evil? Tell me the difference.
School for Good and Evil is basically like a somewhat like edgier, less brand focused Disney's Descendants. So like it's like if you wanted to see a Disney's Descendants where it was all like properly public domain shit, it's not all Disney branded. Blood is there. There's people are allowed to say swears, not the fuck word.
I mourn the loss of the fuck word, but also are there public domain characters referenced in this movie?
Yes.
Holy shit, what the fuck is this? I can say the fuck word. It's past the first minute of my YouTube video.
Yeah, we're allowed to say fuck. They can't say fuck in the School for Good and Evil because it was a PG-13 film, not brave enough to use the one fuck that they are allocated.
Meanwhile, we are rapidly running out of fucks that we can give in this YouTube video.
Yeah, a highly anticipated movie. It's one of those, like, adaptations that was stuck in development hell for a number of years, and it's finally gotten off the ground. It's directed by Paul Feig of Bridesmaids and the Ghostbusters movie that nobody had any problems with.
Oh no!
The Ghostbusters movie that everyone liked.
Yeah, the classic one where Chris Hemsworth did the dance. And
yeah,
he was like, I'm gonna summon
Chris
ghosts.
Hemsworth learned how to morph.
Yeah, he did the morb, and then they all did fucking breakdance moves on all the ghosts, and everyone loved it.
They morphed on all the ghosts. Anyway, Chris Hemsworth, when he busts ghosts, I don't know what happens. I've never seen that movie. So,
oh man.
So basically,
Ghostbusters Love and Thunder.
This movie has Broadway Beetlejuice, Sophia and Caruso as one of the main characters, and then the sort of teachers at the school for good are played by Kerry Washington and recurring character in every video that we do, I guess, Michelle Yeoh.
No, what? Well, okay, listen. I'm always down to see more Michelle Yeoh, but it seems like she's in everything these days.
She's in everything, everywhere, all at once. And I was watching this and I turned to Henry and I was like, yet another one of Evelyn's alternate lives is where she's a teacher at the School for Good and Evil. Anyway, I was a little bit interested in this movie because, like, you know, I was a Harry Potter kid for a hot second before my brain was like consumed by my obsession with Lemony Snicket, which I discovered like 2 or 3 years after I was in my Harry Potter phase.
So funnily enough, I like stopped being a Harry Potter kid when my parents like stopped reading me the books. Basically, like at a certain point, your parents stop reading you books, you know, as bedtime stories. So you start reading them on your own. And I just like grew bored with Harry Potter. So I dropped it essentially.
Yeah,
and
same.
then in college, to impress a girl, which is why I did a lot of things in college, I became a Harry Potter guy again.
Well, I kind of liked Harry Potter through cultural osmosis. I never read any of the books past 4 because that's when they started to get really long and my brain is really tiny. So I stopped reading at midway through book 4, I stopped reading the series. But I was still really into the movies for a minute. I've been to Harry Potter Land at Universal when I was like a teenager. I went there once, and you know, I think like a lot of people who are people that that used to have positive associations with the Harry Potter franchise, but then have grown up and realized that J.K. Rowling is a crazy person. You want something that evokes the feelings that you would get. You want something that evokes the whimsy.
Yeah, the magical school of it all.
Yeah, the magical school of it all. And some of us become fans of Boku no Hero Academia.
Those people are weak because they should really be going back for the OG Familiar of Zero, which is the real magic school anime that I will stand by.
Some people who are cultured perhaps go to The Worst Witch. I've seen that making a little bit of a resurgence, and I loved The Worst Witch when I was a kid. Shout out to my Worst Witch watchers. That was a good show.
Nowadays, for the Zoomers, I think we've got Das Owl Who's, if I'm saying the title correctly.
Yeah, Das Owlenhusen. Oh my god, this house is full of owls!
Oh, what will I do but learn the magic and save the island and be gay?
So I wanted to watch School of Good and Evil because I was like, okay, this is like if Harry Potter got rid of the pretense. Like, I just kept thinking of the joke in a Harry Potter musical where Dumbledore goes, well, the Sorting Hat eloped with the Scarf of Sexual Preference, so we're not gonna do the normal sorting ceremony. Basically, if you're a goodie, go to Gryffindor. If you're a baddie, go to Slytherin. Everyone else, sort yourselves out among the other two.
And that's text in the School of Good and Evil?
That's basically what it is. It's just like there's one building that is full of bad guys and one building that is full of good guys.
It's like everyone's favorite season of The Adventure Zone.
It's like everyone's favorite season of The Adventure Zone. It's also a lot like everyone's favorite Netflix series, Fate the Winx Saga, which I got about 20 minutes into before stopping because that show is really bad. Anyway, so the School for Good and Evil was founded by a pair of twins. One is called their names are like, I want to call him Rothbart, but I know that's the wizard in Swan Lake.
Sure, the Swan Lake wizard.
I'm just gonna quickly look up what the names of the characters are. So the guys are named Raffle and Rian, and Rian is the good one and Raffle is the bad one, and you can tell Raffle is the bad one because he has a British accent. And they're fighting, right? These two guys, these two twins, these brothers, two brothers, they're fighting. They're talking, they reference like a school and they're talking and they're like, they start sword fighting and Raphael's like, ha, I bamboozled you. I am going to take all the magic for myself. I am the bad guy. And he like summons up like a blood tornado and his brother Rian is like, blood magic, that's forbidden. How did you learn the secret techniques? And he's just like, I wanted it so bad that I learned it and now I'm the most evil guy in the world. And then they fight and then they both fall off a cliff. But twist, Rian, the good one, like pulls up from the cliff. And he's alive, and he looks down, and there's his brother's dead body, and he's like, no, brother! And then flash forward to vaguely the 18th century, I guess. It's like, fairy tale times. The time of myths. So it's just, it's the past. Some people are dressed medievally. Some people are dressed like Marie Antoinette's serving girls, with the tight stays and the poofy sleeves and stuff.
So it's a nebulous, like, King Richard's Fair timeline.
Yeah, it's medieval times. Like, not medieval times, it's medieval times the restaurant times.
17XX.
17XX, yeah, that's the year that this is set in. And there's two girls. One of them is called Sophie, and she's played by Sophia Ann Caruso, who is Lydia in the Broadway show of Beetlejuice. She is very cool. I do like her. I like her character a lot. And no, it's not just because she does kind of remind me of the protagonist of Kingmaker, Colette, because she's kind of like awkward and awkward and weird and has like fashion design drawings posted up on her wall.
By the way, everyone, when I referenced Meg being a showrunner at the beginning of this video, I was referencing Kingmaker, which is their show.
Kingmaker is if you took Shadow and Bone, and you took Cowboy Bebop, and you took the Grand Budapest Hotel, and you put those three things in a blender, the smoothie that made would be Kingmaker.
Yes, and it's an audio drama, and you can listen to episodes here on YouTube or on your podcast app of choice.
It's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Spotify, and you can get the RSS feed on the Tumblr account, and also it's on YouTube.
Super cool show. Lots of people from the Dire Gentleman channel contributed to it. It is mostly Meg's baby, and it is really, really cool. So go check that out.
Yeah, if you're the kind of person that sounds, if you come out of this video about the School for Good and Evil thinking, oh, I kind of like the magic system in that, Kingmaker.
So anyway, back to the School of Good and Evil.
So Sophie is like dreaming about being Cinderella, but then she's woken up by her stepmother, who is played by Rachel Bloom from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, pounding on the door, telling her to wake up. And she goes into the, and she lives kind of like a boring teen life. She's got like rambunctious younger brothers. She's got a stepmother, and she's got kind of like a bumbling dad. And she's like, oh my God, nobody in this town understands me. So she walks into town, and she's dreaming about being a princess, and she tries to talk to these squirrels by the side of the road, but then like a horse cart drives by really fast and sprays her with mud, and she's like, oh no, my dress.
And prom's tomorrow.
That's the vibes of this movie, honestly. It's like it's ridiculous. It reminds me a lot of Ella Enchanted, which is a movie that I have a lot, like, it's a bad adaptation of the original book, but I have a lot of nostalgia for the movie.
Yeah, no, it reminds me of that Tumblr post from way back when, where it's just like, things are really crazy at this school. I'm not like the other girls, I'm just
literally.
just Debbie.
So speaking of girls who are not like other girls, you have Agatha, who is a kind of like emo, like whatever the 18th century version of an emo is, which is a woman who is accused of witchcraft by her peers.
I mean, anybody who is named Agatha is going to tend towards the spooky and emo.
Yes. Just like Paranorman. Isn't the girl in that called Agatha? I have never seen that movie.
I think so. I know there's also a member of the original Pokemon Elite Four who's like the ghost type trainer, and her name is Agatha.
Amazing.
And she's an old lady, and she's all like, Professor Oak used to be a cool guy, but then he became a nerd and wanted to do research.
And then, of course, the most famous witch named Agatha. It was Agatha all along.
Yes, from WandaVision. Okay, so what I'm getting from this is that we've got the one who's going to become the good and the one who's going to become the evil, and that's Sophie and Agatha.
Yeah, so Agatha's mother is like the local herbalist, like the local apothecary, and she has a Sphinx cat. She wears men's clothing, and she's got like this wild long hair, but otherwise she's normal looking because apparently this character in the book is like earnestly like an ugly, weird looking girl, but Hollywood, they don't understand. Like they have no frame of reference for what an unattractive person looks like because they refuse to look at them. Hollywood code for ugly is you take an otherwise very good-looking person, but not like, supermodel good-looking, and you give them a somewhat unflattering haircut.
So it's hollywoodhomely.tvtropes.com.
Yes, tvtropes.org/hollywoodhomely. So Agatha is like stomping down the road. She has to go get some hemlock for the potions. And the same horse cart that ran through the mud earlier goes by her, and all of the guys on the back of the horse cart are like, witch, witch, witch. And Agatha's like, preps were staring at me. I put my middle finger up at them. And then the cart goes by, and she sees Sophie on the other side of the road sprayed with mud, and they both look at each other and they go, God, I hate this town. And then they giggle and they link arms, and they're best friends.
Oh,
they're best friends.
Best friends.
They're
but
best
what
friends.
if their destiny is to
but
fight
what
each
if
other?
their destiny
oh, no.
is to fight each other?
It's like RRR all over again.
Yeah, just Dosti starts playing. Dun 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 dun. It is unsure if this friendship will end in bloodshed, a powerful volcano, and a mighty river.
Nothing is certain in the school versus good and evil. It's not even verses in the title, but I just did that instinctively because I know it's going to verse. That's how good and evil be. They always verse each other.
Yeah, they're always versus each other. You know how it is. So Sophie and Agatha go to the bookstore, and the bookshop owner, who is played by Patti LuPone. So this movie is full of like musical theater actors who don't get to sing in this movie, which is weird. That's so Patti LuPone is like tells them the story of the School of Good and Evil, which is like it's in the fairy tale world, and every once in a while like someone from the real world gets pulled out of their the moon turns blood red, and somebody from the real world is like whisked away to the fairy tale land where they go to the School of Good and Evil, which is where you go if you want to be good or evil. So Sophie, whose stepmother is trying to make her get a job at a factory. Sophie does not want to get a job. Sophie wants to be a princess.
I don't want a job, Mom. I want to be
literally,
a princess.
every teenager in the world can relate to Sophie. Anyone who has been a teenager can relate to Sophie. So what she does is she writes a letter to the School of Good and Evil, and she's going to bury it under the wishing tree. But then she's like, Agatha tries to talk her out of it. Agatha's like, no, I got to stay here with my mom. And I want you to stay here with me because you are my only friend in the world. And, like, there's a part of the movie where Sophie, like, a guy harasses Agatha in an alleyway, like, threatening to burn her at the stake. And then Sophie comes up behind him with a frying pan and knocks him out. Cool move. Cool guy, Sophie.
Nice.
She's Princess Peach coded. She got the blonde hair, the pink dress, the frying pan.
She's got to break out, like, the golf club and, like, any of the other random assortment of things Princess Peach hits people
The umbrella.
with. The umbrella.
So Agatha is like, you're the only friend I got in this world. You gotta stay here because everybody thinks I'm a witch and you're the only one who sticks up for me. But then Sophie agrees, but then Sophie's like, nah, fuck it, actually, I do want to be a princess. So she starts walking down the road to sneak out of town, and Agatha shows up at the town limits, and she's like, oh, you lied to me, you were actually gonna do it. And then they start arguing, and then this giant, like, skeleton bird, like, the sky turns red, and then this big skeleton bird swoops in out of nowhere and picks up both of them, one in each skeleton bird claw, and flies through this portal and drops them at the School for Good and Evil. And at the school, Agatha gets dropped at the good school. Sophie gets dropped in the moat outside the evil school.
Those aren't the ones they wanted.
The preppy one go to the evil school, and the emo one go to the good school. That's a subversion.
I'm actually not too surprised that this subverted my expectations, because didn't you say that the good aligned of those two brothers' name was Ryan? As in Ryan Johnson?
Yeah. Rian Johnson.
Rian
His
Johnson?
fantasy name.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, subversion.
He cast Expectatio Subvertio.
He did, and they killed the evil brother with it. So
no, the brother who could summon the blood tornado, which sounds badass.
When they go to the School of Evil, the School of Evil is like, it gives me such, this is not a vibe that I think you would be familiar with, but maybe people listening who come from Commonwealth countries and would have grown up with syndicated CBBC teen sitcoms. This is giving me pristine, like, Dead Gorgeous, Young Dracula, like, sort of, like, weird fantastical teen sitcoms from the early 2000s. Cause all of the kids look like the sister from Young Dracula. All of them look like her. They got the thick eyeliner and, like, black hair. They're all, like, goths, essentially. And there's one who has a shaved head, and she's very cool. I think her look is awesome. And the main kid, who is the main, like, kid from the School of Evil, is named, scanning the Wikipedia page so I can see what his name is. His name is, like, Hork or something. Oh, Hort. And he is the son of Captain Hook, supposedly. Like, this never comes up. He never has a scene where he, like has any sort of, like, clock or, like, crocodile or, like, proficiency with one-handed weapons.
So he's his own guy. Like,
he's
dad
just his own guy, so I don't know why they decided
to
make him. It's weird the way that they implement, the way that they implement the public domain characters, because it's not like in The Descendants where you can see the through line of, like, oh yeah, this is definitely the child of the Sea Witch or Maleficent or whatever.
It feels a little bit more like Percy Jackson, where, like, the camp is just full of people who are, like, from these gods, but, like, not in any direct way. Like, they're not defined by being the child of that god.
And there are also plenty of characters that don't have direct lineages, at least that we know of, but Hort is the son of Captain Hook. He has an emo side fringe. And, I guess, like, one thing is that he plays a prank on, Sophie by, like, hiding a severed hand in his shirt. So he does the whole, like, you pulled my hand off. No, jokes, I actually do have a hand, when they shake hands for the first time.
Wouldn't it be like amazing if he committed so hard to being Captain Hook's son that he like arranged it so that he lost his hand?
Oh my god!
Like just so he could also
It's
carry
like the
on
parent.
the hook?
It's like Violet Beauregard's mother from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, dressing exactly like her, except it's like, okay, I am so committed on raising a tiny version of myself. I'm gonna cut my son's hand off.
Dad, I have dreamed for my entire life of inheriting your hook. And he's like, son, you really don't want that. Like, keep both of your hands. Having a hook is painful, causes me daily strife.
The guards at the school for evil are wolfmans.
Cool. Fucking
They
cool.
are men with wolf heads. And they are wearing armor, and they have big war axes, and they're also. Wait, what did you say, Henry? Henry just said they are the beasties.
That video is probably out by now.
Yeah,
but
it probably is. You should go watch
here's
it.
the thumbnail. I don't even know what it's gonna look like at this point.
So then, meanwhile, Agatha gets sent to the good school, and all of the girls at the good school are like, ew, she's ugly. Literally, Agatha is the most normal-looking person ever. She just has very big hair, like frizzy hair. That looks like
so is everyone else just like incredibly
everyone else is like debutante, like perfect, like you know, Disney princess.
the preps,
kind of
the preps. They are the preps.
The preps looked at her. She put her middle finger up at them. She continues to be Emily Raven, Darkness Dementia Way. So, Agatha tries to get out of there, but then she's like bitten and attacked by fairies who like corral her into the schoolroom. And she's like, I thought fairies were supposed to be nice. The fairies look like Jean Jacket. The fairies look like if Jean Jacket was like a centaur. Like, their bottom half is like flowy white stuff, and their top half is a human.
That's terrifying.
They look like Jean Jacket.
Oh no.
Tiny little Jean Jackets.
So I'm getting that, like, this is kind of a Megamind situation where, like, you know, they're ending up here and they're going to get, like, sort of forced into their roles regardless of what they came in with.
Pretty much. This movie does have a little bit of DNA in common with Megamind, I think. So they're ushered in, they go into the hall, and, like, the knights from the good school put on a performance of, like, goodness, and they meet Kerry Washington, who is the dean of students at the good school. Her name is Professor Dovey, and she is like wearing this like big gold dress, and she's got like kind of Gibson girl hair going on and like a big butterfly on her head, I think. And she's given me like Glinda in Wicked, just kind of a very like bubbly like character. She's fun. I like it. And then the dean of students at the evil school is Charlize Theron as Lady Lesso.
Whoa, wait, Charlize Theron is in this as well?
Charlize Theron wearing like the girl bossiest like dominatrix pants pencil skirt suit with like double-breasted buttons, and she's got like hair that she's got like this wild like 70s ginger disco hair, and she's got she's so Charlize Theron, call me on Thursday. I am free on Thursday. Please call me on Thursday when I'm free.
Gus need to watch this movie right now.
Anyway, so they're not really the headmistresses, but they kind of are. But then the school master is Rian as an adult, as an older man, and he is played by Lawrence Fishburne.
This has a lot of stars in it.
Yeah, it does. It's got amazing star power. Like, Paul Feig pulled some strings for this one.
Morpheus, not to be confused with Morbius.
Morpheus Walruses.
Morpheus, go into your orifices. Worcestershire sauce.
Morpheus drinking a 40 in a death basket. Anyway. So, Morpheus, like, Sophie stands up and is like, I got put in the wrong school, damn it. You gotta put me in the good school. And Agatha's like, I'm not meant to be here. I don't want to go to the school. Send me home. And Morpheus is like, there are no mistakes in the school of good and evil. So everybody fuck off to your dorms. And then, Agatha has to wear a pink dress. Like, they put her in a pink dress and they, like, combed her hair properly. So now she's had her, like, oh, maybe she is beautiful on the inside moment. that like every movie like this has.
Obligatory, and then we can just like, just go the rest of the movie just being like, yes, we admit that this is a conventionally attractive person.
Yeah, and there's a guy called, what's his name, Tedros, who is the son of King Arthur, and he wields Excalibur, and he's like a cocky show-off. He's a bit of a shit, but he's like really charming, and he's with one of the girls called Beatrice, who is like the head bitch in charge in this school. She's the Regina George.
Queen Bee.
She's the Queen Bee. Tedros throws a rose into the crowd, and it lands in Agatha's lap, and Beatrice gets really mad. And Tedros goes to take it off her and is like, "Oh, sorry, this wasn't meant for you." And they have like a little bit of like a banter, like a back and forth. So you can tell that these two are gonna end up together. But he also is kind of making goo eyes at Sophie, and Sophie's like, "That's my boyfriend. I love him." So they go to their dorms and they meet all of the good ones. It's not as readily apparent who they're related to. There's a Japanese girl, there's a Scottish one. It really does give you the impression of this is the school where like people are plucked from all the different realms, because it is quite a diverse group, and I think that's really cool. It hadn't naturally come up, but Agatha's black, so it's a very diverse movie. Sophie goes to her dorms. She meets all of her dorm mates, and one of them is called Dot. She has basically the hair of Gaara's sister from Naruto. The like four pigtails. Yeah, she's Tamari. Yeah. I looked at her and I was like, "Oh my god, that's like if you made Tamari real." So Tamari is her name is Dot, and she is the daughter of the sheriff of Nottingham.
This really is like a 2000s movie, because there's so many people who would want to be real Tamari in the 2000s.
Oh my god, yeah. Hilarious. I mean, this movie was in development hell for several years. So they wrote the script in like 2013, I think. So you can kind of tell.
I don't know if everybody who is watching this has been on the Patreon. Probably not. But those of you who have, I'm getting kind of like Ember Day vibes from this in a good way, like conceptually.
It's got that energy of just like, the stories and the myths
and all the myths came.
And who has a better story than Paul Feig? And Dot is like nice to her at first, and there's another girl who she's got some weird name like Anadil. So there's Dot, Anadil, and Hester is like the emoist of the emos. She basically looks like Paloma Faith in the Centrinians movie. She's got like really like wild messy hair. She basically looks like what I'm trying to be every day. She's the Regina George of the evil school. She's the mean one.
Right. Reverse Regina George.
I think the implication is that her mother is Maleficent, or like whatever the brand safe, like the fairy from not Snow White, Sleeping Beauty. I think that's the implication, because there's this scene. Sophie is like, they're trying to be nice to her, but Sophie is like, "Get out of my face, you weird little emos. I'm supposed to be at the good school because I'm pretty and I have blonde hair and I'm not ugly like that old bitch." And she points to like a poster on the wall, and there's like a crack of thunder, and Hester is like, "Don't you say that about my mother."
Oh no.
So, and then Hester does this thing where she spits. I think it's actually supposed to be fire, but I thought she was spitting electricity onto the ground. So she does this thing where she spits, and then there'll be like a small explosion on the ground where she spat. And it looked like electricity, but I guess it's supposed to be fire, because later on you see that she has these like fire dragon powers, which is why I think she's supposed to be Maleficent's daughter. Then what happens after that? So they sneak out, or no, they have a fight, and they're out on the balcony. They're fighting, and Hester is threatening to throw Sophie overboard. Throw her off the balcony. And she's like, "Oh, why don't you call on your little fucking animal friends to save you, Princess Sophie?" And she goes to like cut a lock of her hair off, and Sophie is like thrown into a rage. She's like, "Do not touch my hair." And so she is gonna she just fucks him up. She's like thrashing and kicking and biting, and she gets away, and then she sees Agatha downstairs, because Agatha snuck out of her room over the ledge, and she was like chased by like a cupid that came out of a fresco in the side of the wall and started shooting arrows at her, and was like, "Hee hee hee, you can't leave your room at night." And so they go to get, like, she gets out and then Sophie gets out and they run together. They run up to the schoolmaster's office, which is like up this big, like, staircase. It's in a magical tower. And okay, I should point out at this point that there is a narrator, and the narrator is Cate Blanchett. Okay.
Wow, okay. Yeah, you keep dropping these new, like, stars into the movie.
Yeah, it's crazy how many, like, names there are in this movie. So they're pounding on the door. They're like, schoolmaster, let us in. We got a problem we got to tell you about. And they open it up. And once they I mentioned the narrator now because once they go into the schoolmaster's chamber, they become aware of the narrator because the narrator is the voice of this, like, sentient pen that is writing down the events of everything that happens in the school. It's called the Storian. So, like, historian without the HI.
That is a new fantasy word that is really interesting.
Yeah,
actually.
So the Storian, and the Lawrence Fishburne comes out and he's like, no, you must be, and he gives them a speech about, like, how stories are important, and, like,
he tells them that they're living in a simulation and that this is the desert of the real and that, like, the machines really run things outside of, the school.
That's basically the gist of it. So he's like, stories are important because they, I don't know. I don't remember what he said. It was nonsense.
Yeah, it was the desert of the real.
Yeah. So, but he's like, but your stories are especially important because the Storian started writing them before you came to the school. And they were like, oh my God, we're special. We're special.
We are les protagonistes.
Morpheus is like, so if you think that you truly are from the wrong school, well, the only thing that an evil person can never have is true love. So if you can get true love's kiss, you will be allowed to go to the good school because that's proof that you have goodness in your heart.
But wait, how does Agatha get to the...
There's no plan with Agatha. I guess Agatha's like, okay, well, if Sophie goes to the other school, then I'll just go home.
Yeah, so there's no way to prove that you're really evil? Like, there's no, like, kill this puppy or anything?
No. Okay, so we're gonna set you up with a guy. We gotta figure out who it is. And so she's sitting in class writing names of guys that she meets. And the class that they're in, that is taught by Michelle Yeoh, is called Beauty Class. It is how to use your beauty and goodness. And Agatha is rightfully like, this is the biggest load of bullshit ever. Why is this a class? And they're like, okay, so your first test is you have to smile. And Agatha's smile is kind of like half-assed. So she gets an F. And if you get 3 Fs, they kill you.
No, really?
Basically, I mean, you get turned into something. And you're trapped for 1,000 years. Basically, they kill you.
And that's the good school doing that?
This is the good school.
Why?
We'll get into it. At lunchtime, they all eat in the same cafeteria. They have different dorms, they have different classes, but they all eat in the same cafeteria. So, you get, like, the evil kids are, like, flinging peas across the room at the good kids, and the good kids are like, oh my God, they're so annoying. Like, classic teen movie hijinks.
Wow, everyone's so on theme in here.
Yeah, so then there's, like, a dweeby prince who comes and sits down at the table next to Agatha and is like, hi, my name's Gregor. I'm gonna sit next to you. My father is Prince Charming, but I don't want to be a prince. I want to give up the royal life, and I want to have a supermarket, like a vegetarian supermarket. I can't sell meat because I'm really afraid of blood. He got a fail because when he was in sword fighting class, he cut his finger on the sword and he fainted and he rolled down the hill and knocked a bunch of people over. And that would have been so much funnier if it wasn't like, if it was just cutting to that when she's like, how did you fail sword class? Just because you fainted? Well, it wasn't that. And then he like they cut to it, but then they keep cutting back to him explaining what's happening in the flashback. It's like, okay, we get it.
And so the takeaway here is that this kid is going to be transformed into something if he fails to be good sufficiently.
Then Sophie shows up and she's like, hey, I think I have a prince for you that you could kiss. Maybe this guy, maybe Gregor. He's a bit of a wet noodle, but, like, you should kiss him and get out of here. And she goes, no, I have to kiss Tedros because we had a moment. A kiss isn't true love's kiss unless it means something, and I'll demonstrate it. She just grabs a random guy, kisses him on the mouth, and is like, see, nothing happened. Sophie could have little a sexual assault.
Poor guy. I mean, I guess he was an evil student.
The guy is like, hey, you free later? And she's like, oh, piss off. Like, they play it as a joke, but it is, don't do that.
No, that's
Kids
a little.
do not
that's
do that.
A little.
That is a bit of a sexual assault.
That is sus.
So then she's like, okay, I'll write a letter to Tedros, and then when you have a class with him, you give him the letter. And so then they have a class together, and it's like wilderness survival, which is taught by a gnome who is played by Peter Serafinowicz in heavy prosthetic makeup. And this scene is like, I was laughing for like 5 minutes after this happened. I needed to take a break. When they're in the courtyard waiting for the teacher to show up, Agatha like leans against this tree. A face appears in the tree next to her, and the face yells at her to get off, and then the tree explodes.
What?
Right, because the gnome was like the gnome is their teacher, and he was in the tree. And this is just how he shows up to class, is by exploding out of the tree every time.
That is insane.
Yeah,
What?
It's so funny. It was
and he's
so
one of the
funny.
evil
It took me
teachers,
so
right?
off guard. No, he's a good teacher. This is the good class.
I think that this movie is teaching me about the, like, you know, ambiguity of good versus evil. Because, like,
That's the theme, man. That like the good ones are not as good as you thought, and the evil ones are not as evil as you thought. Because we're all just
it's all just very threatening. It's all just very threatening, and they're putting too much pressure and expectations on these children's.
So they do wilderness survival class, and there are these like pansies that bite. That are cool. I love them. Definitely stealing them for Kingmaker.
Yeah.
Definitely stealing them for Kingmaker.
Biting
these
plants.
pansies that have like
A
dog
staple
teeth
of fantasy.
on the inside. And so they're doing this, and Agatha and Gregor are talking, and she's like, "How you holding up, man?" And he goes, "Not good, because I got another fail in horse riding class. I can't ride a horse for shit."
Oh no, Gregor, one more strike at the good school and they'll kill you.
They'll fucking kill you. So
they'll fucking turn you into an ottoman and rest their feet on you forever.
Yeah. Ariadne, what are you doing here? No.
No!
I mean, Charlize Theron in this movie is a little bit Ariadne core. But just because Ariadne from Kingmaker, from my show Kingmaker, is like very much based on
you
like,
may have heard of it.
a Disney evil lady. So the guy, the teacher, explains to them that there are these like pumpkin head scarecrows with big scythes that if you come into the forest at night, they'll kill you. And he's like explaining all of the bad stuff in this magical forest. And so then one of the pansies like bites Gregor on the leg, and he runs away, and Agatha runs after him trying to get him back. But then, because he's been failed again, he is like swept up into this tornado, and he like disintegrates in front of her, and he's screaming, and she cannot do anything but watch. It reminded me a lot of the scene in The Blob where Shawnee Smith comes in and the guy's getting like digested by the blob. And it was kind of like, it kind of went a lot harder than anything in this movie needed to. So Agatha at this point is like, oh my god, I need to leave.
She just watched Gregor get digested.
He got fucking killed.
Yeah.
They killed him.
Why'd they do that? That's not good.
At this point, she's like, okay, something's fucky with this school. I need to get out of here. And she talks to Professor Dovey about it and is like, you can't just do that. You can't just like, what happens, you know, you can't kill people who don't hold up your expectations. And I gotta get my friend out of here. Meanwhile, Sophie is in a class where you learn how to be ugly.
Right, okay, yeah.
Hork dunks her head in some water that has tadpoles in it as a fun little goof. A silly little moment. And then she also has another class. Well, the guy who teaches the ugly class is like, why is it important for bad guys to be ugly? Because if you don't care what you look like, nobody has any power over you.
It's very like Captain Knuckles, except like his was all like, a lady needs to be pretty, a man needs to be ugly. This is more like, a good person is not good unless they're pretty, and a bad person is not bad unless they're ugly.
There are some bad implications that come from this in the movie, Gus.
From what you described it sounds like a lot of the you know, evil students just kind of look normal. Like, but they're emo?
Yeah, they're just kind of like punks. But, you know, and I was like, oh, okay, so at least they're not doing anything anti-Semitic. But I should have waited. Ooh,
No!
we will get to it. Oops.
Not the
Oops.
specter of anti-Semitism that lingers over a lot of fantasy media.
Charlize Theron teaches a class where it's like, what's your gimmick, essentially?
If you're a heel, you gotta have a gimmick.
Yeah, if you're a heel, you gotta have a gimmick. This is basically like, what if the world was, what if the world ran on WWE wrestling rules?
I do kind of love that in concept.
She's like, okay, let's go around the room in a circle. Hork, what's your gimmick? And he's like, I've been working on being a werewolf. I've been practicing really hard, and I think I've made some good progress. And then he kind of like strains, like he's about to do a Kamehameha, and like a single chest hair appears on his chest, and he's like, look at that. And the teacher is just like, that's lame. That's lame. Sit back down.
Here's the thing, though. It is fascinating that you can will yourself to become a werewolf in this.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
It's great.
reality.
I love it. The magic in this universe is very fun. So then she goes around and she's like, okay, Dot, what's your gimmick? What's your special power? Show the class. And Dot's power is that she can turn anything she's touching into chocolate.
That's a really good power.
And the teacher goes, impressive. Is it poison chocolate? And Dot's like, I don't know. It could be. And she's like, all right, sit back down. We can work on that. And then she goes to Sophie next. And Sophie is like, well, because I am actually good, I can call on my forest friends when I'm in distress, because that happens with good people. And then Hester starts riling her up. Sophie continues to insult Hester's mother, and I'm like, wouldn't it be so funny if her gimmick was just like, she's the best at trash talk?
Yeah.
I thought that's what they were gonna do.
That'd
Like,
be really
oh,
good.
your tongue is can burn people like a flame. You're the best at shit talking. But no. And then Hester pulls her like shoulder of her shirt down. She's got this like sick dragon tattoo that like goes up to her neck and all the way around her back. And the tattoo comes free of her body and becomes a flaming skeleton dragon.
That's pretty good.
And the
That's a
skeleton
pretty
dragon
good one.
starts attacking Sophie. And everybody else is like, call on your fucking animal friends, you little goody two-shoes. And Sophie, pounding on the window, goes, I need help. Someone help me. And then a swarm of bees.
Not the bees.
Not the bees. A swarm
No.
of bees. Bees. My God.
No.
They don't let you have bees in here. Those are all of my bee jokes.
He has ordered the bees.
The bees! Dr. Bees!
I want to become a beekeeper. I want to keep bees, and I want them not to get away.
And they attack. The bees, like, swarm the skeleton dragon, and, like, Hester's on the ground, like, having a seizure, because I guess when you hurt the skeleton dragon, you hurt her as well. Which feels like a big
It's
disadvantage.
a stand.
It's her
It's
stand!
a JoJo stand.
It's her JoJo stand!
Her JoJo stand. Imagine dragons.
Oh my God! Really imagine them. That's so
Right,
perfect.
just for a second, imagine all the dragons.
Imagine all the dragons. Oh, the misery. Everybody wanted to be my head.
When they turn, they hate us.
Oh my God, her stand is Imagine Dragons. Put her in JoJo's, please.
This movie sounds actually like super fucking cool. Like
It is.
seriously,
It's
I love
it
shit
kinda
like
hits.
this.
It kind of hits.
No,
is
this
the
reminds
thing.
me this reminds me of all those like, you know, those really like weird like Robert Rodriguez like fucking
It feels
like
a
the
lot like
Spy
Robert
Kids,
Rodriguez. That kind of, it has that
Shark
kind
Boy
of like
Lava Girl.
like later on especially, it has that kind of like child logic that a Robert Rodriguez kids movie sort of runs on.
And it's also got that like Sky High thing where it's just like let's put
Oh,
as
it's
much
so
like
sky high.
I love shit like this where it's just like, listen, we just like threw a bunch of like weird bullshit into a single universe, and you're going to think it's so fucking fascinating and cool that you're just not gonna care that like that's the point of this. The point of this is that there's just a bunch of stuff here.
It's just
And
a
everything
bunch of
else is
stuff that
secondary.
happened. So
Yeah.
Sophie has to call off the bees, and as the bees are leaving, they congeal into the form of a human being, like Dimitrescu daughters style. And
The
a human
Bee
face,
Man!
a human face is revealed through the bees, and guess who it is? It's Raphael, the evil brother, the blood tornado.
Not
man.
him.
He's there. And Raphael and like Charlize Theron is like, oh, Raphael is like, Raphael, is that you? And Raphael is like, you know, I am always here at your side. Lady Lesso, like, you can tell that she thinks he's gonna say, I'm always here at your side, Lady Lesso, I love you. Like they had a thing. You can tell they had a thing.
Oh,
but he's
yeah.
I'm always here at your side, Sophie.
What?
And so Lady Lesso, like, pulls Sophie aside and is like, don't you ever tell anyone that this happened. He was, like, the most powerful evil wizard that the world has ever seen. And he was one of the founders of this school until his brother killed him.
And it sounds like because Raphael favors Sophie over Lady Lesso, she's feeling a little bit less so.
Yeah, she is less so. Very much. So, Sophie tells Agatha that happened. And Agatha is like, well, yeah, this school's fucked up because if you fail 3 times, then they fucking kill you. We gotta get out of here. You gotta get the true love's kiss. I'm gonna talk to Tedros again. Professor Dovey takes them to the wishing pond full of the wishing fish.
Ah, the fish that grants your wish.
The fish that grants your wish. Like in...
the magic little fish that grants your every wish. Like the Fairly Odd Parents.
The
Magical
Fairly Odd Parents. They are the
Yeah,
school
right.
of good and evil. And you put your hand in the water and you wish for something. And the girls wish for like Beatrix, the mean girl, she wishes for, I want Tedros to ask me to the dance. And then the Asian girl like also wishes for like a guy to ask her to the dance. And then like they all wish for superficial things, but then Agatha wishes for I want everybody to have a home or something like that. And then the water starts like swirling up her arm and it's like pulling her in, but then it becomes like a hand and she pulls out and it's like this other kid, this like other little girl, and she pulls her out of the water and the girl is like, you set me free for 100 years. I was the wishing fish. They turned me into a wishing fish and I had to grant other people's wishes, but now you have wished for everybody to go home, so now my spirit is finally free. And she kind of like dissolves into glitter like the Corpse Bride at the end of Corpse Bride and like goes up into the sky because she can finally be free. Her soul is at peace. She doesn't have to grant wishes anymore. And so Agatha realizes like, oh, they turned the kids that fail into like all the random magic shit. And pretty much just as they have that revelation, one of those big skeleton birds swoops down and everybody's like, oh, run away, it's a skeleton bird. But Agatha is like, somehow she knows that the skeleton bird is Gregor. And she's like, Gregor, is that you? And the skeleton bird like nods because it's him. And she's like, it's okay, I'm gonna figure out a way to turn you back into a human. But then Tedros, idiot that he is, comes in with Excalibur and fucking kills Gregor again. He's double died. He died again.
Gregor!
He's double dead. And so Agatha punches him in the face for doing that.
Yeah. Fuck you, Tedros. You just killed Gregor again.
So then Tedros, then at lunch, Sophie's like, did you talk to Tedros? And she was like, no, I didn't talk to Tedros. And then Tedros comes up behind her and Sophie's like, why do you have a black eye? And he goes, oh, your friend has a really good right hook. And she's like, yeah, well, he killed Gregor. No, I killed a monster. No, the monster was Gregor. And they have this big argument. Tedros' arc is that, like, he kind of blindly just does what he thinks a hero should do instead of really, like, thinking for himself. Agatha's his manic pixie dream girl. He's like, maybe sometimes the thing that you think is good is not actually good.
Maybe you meet the emo girl and then you start to see the world in a different light. Maybe nihilism sets in and you start to choose your own path rather than the predestined one.
Yes, exactly, and that's what happens to Tedros. But Sophie like starts flirting with him, and then I forget when she gets dragged away by one of the Wolfmans because she's flirting with the guy too much, and like they're not allowed to fraternize too much. I don't know what the threshold is because Agatha and Sophie have been sitting together at lunch for like every lunchtime that we've seen at this point. So I don't know what the threshold is for too much fraternization between good and evil, but she gets dragged off by one of the Wolfmans and Charlize Theron is mad at her again. And Charlize Theron takes her sword and chops her hair off.
Oh.
And Sophie's very proud of her hair. So she's like, no, my hair.
I'm gonna summon the bees again.
Yeah, she's crying and she goes to the mirror, and then behind her in the mirror, but not in real life, he's just in the mirror, is Raphael. And Raphael's like, no one gets you, Sophie. Sophie, baby girl, no one gets you. I get you. This school's messed up and you're better than them, and you should just take whatever you want in this life because you deserve it.
You should just be yourself.
Just be yourself, Buzz.
Wait, I got a better one. A better one. Raphael appears behind her in the mirror and goes, "You like jazz?"
Basically, like, we don't know. I don't know how old Sophie and Agatha are, but I can only
I'm going to guess too young for a million-year-old wizard who's come back.
Well, like, he's played by a much younger actor. It's not just Lawrence Fishburne. He's played by an actor, the actor that played them when they were young men. When he killed, so I'm guessing this actor's like 25 or something, and I'm gonna pray. Well, I mean, like, I'm gonna say like, oh, I hope she's over the age of 16, but like, he's evil. He's evil. It's in character for an evil person to want to seduce a girl who's way too young for him. That's an evil thing.
It's ironic because, like, you know, considering her role in Beetlejuice, this is a similar situation.
Oh my God,
with
he's
the
the
Beetlejuice
creepy old guy.
Yeah,
He's the creepy
old guy.
Have you guys seen Lolita?
This is just like that, but fine.
Creepy old guy.
Creepy old guy.
Anyway, so she's
This movie has everything.
Then so what happens is she gives herself an evil makeover. She's basically wearing like the dark swan dress from Swan Lake. It's like black and there's feathers. It's like a bustier with like the off the shoulder thing, and it's like long at the back. And so she like waltzes in to they're doing the ceremony where everybody gets magic. Like you might have a couple spells that the way that the magic system works in this is that you might have a couple spells that you already know, or you might have some powers that are inherited from your parents, but to unlock all of the special features, you have to do the special blood ceremony.
Right. You gotta buy the DLC.
Yeah, you gotta get the DLC, by which I mean the professor, the head of your school, whether it's the school for good or the school for evil, takes like a big, like, hat pin kind of looking thing and pricks your finger with it, and then you get an ET finger that can do magic. You get the magic ET finger.
You unlock your semblance.
Yeah, you unlock your semblance. So, but not really, because it's like these people would already, like, most of these people already have their semblance, you know, but they just, you know, they get like generic, like, magic powers at this point. So they're all in line, waiting to get their fingers print with the magic hat pin. And Sophie, like, kicks the door down and, like, struts in like a total badass. And she's like, she does that, like, slow motion, like, hair flip over the shoulder thing that, like, girls do in teen movies after they've had a makeover. And You Should See Me in a Crown by Billie Eilish is playing at this point. And so she cuts in at the front of the line and she's like, give me my magic powers, please. And they do it. And
she's the bad guy.
She is the bad guy.
Duh.
So she gets the magic, and then when she goes to talk to Raphael again, he reaches his hand out. He calls her his, like, true love. And he reaches his hand out of the mirror, and they touch their ET fingers together, and then the blood tornado goes into her, so she now has the blood magic. She has the blood magic now. And the school dance is tomorrow!
I'm pretty sure that it's not okay to share your blood tornado with a minor.
No, I'm pretty sure you can go to jail for that now.
Yeah.
But, okay, wait, no, I'm trying to remember when this happened, but, like, oh, no, it's right after this. After she gets... Okay, no. After she gets the hat pin thing in the finger, they do the ceremony, everybody gets powers, and, like, it's sort of referenced that, like, the good ones will be able to turn into animals. Apparently in the book, Agatha could turn into a cockroach, which I think is really funny. In the movie, it's just a bird. She turns into a bird, which is kind of boring. I wish she had been a cockroach. I'm a big cockroach hater. I do hate cockroaches, but, like, I think it would be funny if she could turn into a cockroach.
A Kafka-esque addition to this whole thing. Literally Kafka-esque.
So, Sophie and Tedros have to do this thing called a trial by tale, which is like to prove if their love is actually true, which is basically putting them in a life or death scenario to see if they would, lay down their lives for each other. This school's fucked up.
Yeah, no, totally.
Like, I was about to be like, this is worse than Hogwarts, but then I remembered that, like, in Hogwarts, like, getting detention means that they throw you into the Forbidden Forest with, like, the giant spiders.
It feels like every single time it's like, yeah, we're gonna teach you the basics. Also, you're child soldiers and we fucking own you.
Yeah, pretty much. They have to go into the Forbidden Forest and they have to, like, fight the pumpkins, scarecrows. And at one point, Tedros drops Excalibur, but Sophie doesn't pick it up. And Agatha has followed them in because she's like, oh, I don't trust Sophie to, like, lay down her life for this guy. She's gonna get fucking marked by the pumpkins. I have to do something about it. So she turns into a bird. She flies in. She throws the sword back to Tedros. He cuts the heads off all the pumpkins. And then they're like, yo, why didn't you pick up Excalibur? You were right there. And she says something like, a princess, princesses don't save princes. It's the other way around. And so, like, and rightfully Tedros and Agatha are angry at Sophie for saying that because that's the dumbest shit ever.
Yeah, you can't be a hero in the good school if you don't do heroic things.
So then she's like, oh, my friend hates me, and I don't have my true love. So she runs back to her room, and that's when she gets the blood magic, and crucially, the dance is tomorrow. The school dance is tomorrow.
Okay, hold on. Wouldn't it be the fucking weirdest thing if her true love was the creepy old wizard man and they had the kiss and that...
That would be weird. It would kind of cancel itself out, because what if your true love is an evil piece of shit?
Wouldn't that also make you an evil piece of shit, like, by proxy, because you stand with them?
Rightfully, they do not get into this. We do not have a teenager kissing a fully grown man.
Take notes, anime industry.
Yeah, so here is where the oops, oh no, they did anti-Semitism comes in, because as said before, the bad guys, like, when you're evil, you become ugly, right? So, like, ugliness is part of it, right? So, she gets the magic, the blood magic, and she's studying all of the dark forbidden blood magic spells in the school library. And, Gus, I'm gonna give you 3 guesses as to which part of her face, quote-unquote, becomes ugly first.
Come on. Why is it always like this?
She has a witch nose. Learning the forbidden blood magic gave her a witch nose.
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like, here's the thing. You can't even say, like, this has been not okay for, like, almost a century at this point.
Yeah.
Longer than that, even. Like, stop. Fucking stop.
As a lifelong Series of Unfortunate Events fan, I have seen the discourse of whether or not Count Olaf's character design is anti-Semitic, and to which I say that's a moot point because Daniel Handler is Jewish, and those are some of the most Jewish books that I've ever read. So all of the characters, everyone is implied Jewish in those books, so it doesn't matter. I don't think it's kind of a moot point, but like Paul Feig, to my knowledge, is not Jewish. The writer of the books is not Jewish. So, hey, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I think the thing crucially here is that whatever you can say about, like, oh, in the source material, this is how it goes, and you'd have to critique the source material first, but, if Agatha turns into a bird and not a roach, they were able to alter the source material, so they should have at least considered what this would be like.
There's way more, like, racial diversity in the movie than there was in the books. So, they were considerate on that front, but they just totally huge blind spot here for the big anti-Semitism. Oops, oh no. Oh, whoopsie doodles.
We just really gotta do something different. Like, maybe they could have just given her, like, elf ears or something.
Yeah,
or
give her, like, weird
a really
ears
pointy
or, like,
chin.
Or warts.
Yeah,
something a little more
magic
magic-y,
or something.
Like, not just
something that is not a harmful trope.
Yeah, something that is not a harmful stereotype against a group of people who, violence against them is on the rise.
Yeah, at least cause the thing to like, make her hands like start like, gesticulating wildly because she's becoming more Italian as she's starting to develop her magic.
Yeah. So she well, eventually she does like fully transform into like an old hag, but it's just it's icky that they started with the nose. It is incredibly icky that they started with the nose.
Fucking fantasy fiction. Never change.
Yeah, fantasy fiction. If you want fantasy fiction that did change and is different, because I don't read fantasy novels in my free time at all, listen to Kingmaker.
Listen to Kingmaker. It's
a good show. Anyway,
you gotta do it.
So she bursts into the dance and she's like, "Oh, you went to the dance with Agatha, not me. That's not very good of you." And oh, I forgot. So she learns this spell called Living Doll spell, and she uses it to turn all of the teachers into little dolls that are like frozen. And they're cool looking. They're like wooden carved dolls, and they're all like screaming, but they're frozen. And so Sophie comes in. Or no, they're not. So there's a crucial part of the lore here. Is there was a discussion that was had in one of the classes where Professor Dovey is like, love is good, hate is bad. When Agatha brings that girl back, Professor Dovey is like, you have shown great empathy by making a wish for everybody and not just yourself. And empathy is the strongest emotion.
Love is the second strongest emotion, and hate is the third.
So, but she's saying like, love is good, hate is bad, evil attacks, but good defends. When is it all right for evil to attack? And one of the girls puts her hand up and goes, never. If you attack first, that's never good. And Professor W is like, correct. So, to bring us back to the dance scene, you need to know this, because when the evil kids walk into the dance, all of the good kids start attacking them, and Sophie goes, oh, we haven't done anything yet. We just wanted to come to the dance. You've attacked innocent people. That was not very good of you. And so what happens is they switch. So all of the evil kids, like, magic, like, envelops them, and they're now wearing, like pastels and, like, light colors and, like, golds. And Sophie no longer looks like an old hag. She looks normal again. But then all of the good kids get enveloped by, like, dark magic, and their clothes become goth. So the evil kids and the good kids have switched places. Because if you attack first without provocation, that means that that is the line at which you become irredeemably evil in this universe, I guess. Not irredeemably, but you do become, that is the line where you become evil, is attacking an innocent person without provocation.
That is wild. I'm imagining that it's a lot more flexible in the School of Good and Evil, like, mini dimension.
Not in real life. In the School of Good and Evil mini dimension. In the fairy tale world. In the world of legends. So, then Sophie is like, and crucially, during this entire fight scene, Toxic by Britney Spears is playing.
No, it isn't.
What? It is.
What is this movie?
These kids are like going to fucking town on each other. The Dot like conjures up like a flaming hot molten chocolate ball that like she throws at someone and it burns them. And like the good kids have like swords and arrows, and the evil kids are using their like magic. Like Hester, like the dragon demon comes out of her shoulder and it's like fucking people up. And then everybody else, like other ones are like doing fireballs and like electricity and all different kinds of magic, and it's just a free for all. But it is really cool that like right before the evil kids attack, Sophie is like, yeah, I'm gonna change the world by like subjugating everybody. I'm the most powerful. With the help of blood magic evil guy, he who is just like, oh, baby girl, you're doing amazing. My true love, Sophie, who is the most evilest. And okay, so what happened with the teacher, with Charlize Theron, is that she was also from the same village as Sophie and Agatha, and she was personally chosen by Raphael, but Raphael thought she wasn't evil enough. So he abandoned her.
Huh.
And Raphael has been masquerading as Lawrence Fishburne this whole time. So, like, the one that died all that way long time ago was actually Lawrence Fishburne, Rion, the good one. And so Raphael has been assumed his identity and took over the school. Like I called that twist immediately, because if you're gonna have like an evil twin subplot and like one of them dies, I'm like, you switch the evil twin.
Yeah, also it does explain why both schools are super like fucked up and like, really, subjecting these kids to horrible torments.
They sort of have this thing where it's like, oh, they've forgotten the true meaning of goodness. It's become more about like preserving your self-image and punishing bad people rather than like actually doing good.
Which is, hey, that's a fair message. Like, sometimes communities of people and even individuals can think that they are the good guy and thus ad hoc justify everything they do. I think that's like a real life lesson.
So Raphael like brings the entire school down on top of everybody and is like, Sophie, these people were small, they were chump change, they were small potatoes, they were fairy tale evil. You and me, we're going to be actually evil, and we're going to rule the world together, and we're going to kill everybody who disagrees with us. And Sophie's like, hold on, that's too evil. I'm not signing up for this. I do not want to kill my best friend Agatha.
I'm more of a centrist, really.
Yeah, she's more of a centrist. The whole thing of this movie is that like people are complex and you can't black and white put people in categories.
Because if I may get a little bit poetic here, it just feels
Yeah.
like the conflict between these two brothers, where like one of them thought they were good and the other thought they were evil, got kind of blown up and externalized into this entire school system, which was really the evil guy just trying to self-justify winning the battle between them.
That's basically it. So Agatha and Tedros, they're not dead. They got out of the school before it collapsed, and they have a fight with Raphael at the... Wait a second. No, Agatha's dead. Okay. I'm remembering it. I'm remembering it now. I watched this like 20 minutes ago. But I had another tab open, so... So Agatha is dead. And Sophie is so enraged that like her magic powers go crazy, and she gets stabbed in the chest by the talking Kate Blanchett pen. That somehow undoes the spell. Agatha's alive again, and the school like reforms out of the rubble, and then she and Tedros come in and fuck shit up. And Sophie's like laying there like bleeding out on the ground, but she uses her last bit of energy to like use the magic to levitate Excalibur into Agatha's hands. Agatha does like a cool like Matrix like flip kick, slashes Raphael's chest, and all of this like black gunk comes out as he's dying, and he dies. And then she starts cradling Sophie's body, and Sophie's bleeding out, and Sophie's like, I'm not gonna make it, Agatha. And Agatha's like, don't you dare tell me that. Don't you dare tell me that. And then
No.
she's like, you're my true love, because we're best friends, no homo, which is bullshit. Like, come on, it's 2022.
Sure.
And they
sure,
do
all
kiss.
right.
They do kiss is the thing. So, yeah, bullshit.
Yeah, weird. Why not go the full way, especially if the true love's kiss saves everybody?
Yeah, gals being pals, am I right? Straight heterosexuals. So yeah, other than that, like blatant queer baiting, that brings her back to life. Like all the blood like goes back into her and the wound heals. And when they go back to the castle, all of the good kids and the evil kids are hanging out and being friends. Even the scary one who has the black sclera contacts and the shaved head, even she is being friends. Beatrix and Hester like help each other up out of the rubble, and they're like smiling at each other. So like these two queen bitches are gonna form an iconic queen bitch alliance.
Yes, and the world will never be the same.
And the teachers are like, oh, what's next? Good and evil together. And then Dovey and Lesso, they hug each other, but then they're like, no, we're not really friends yet, but we'll get there eventually. They do like the weakest like coworker like pat on the back hug. It's a little bit humorous.
Okay, can there not be at least one pair of lesbians by the end of this?
God, I don't know. And so then the portal opens up that takes them back home, and Sophie is like, I'm gonna go back home, but if you want to stay here with Tedros, you can. And she's like, no.
Tedros kind of doesn't matter to me, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, but they're not lesbians. So they link arms, they walk through the portal, and then like their families are really happy to see them again. And Kate Blanchett, the narrator, is like, and everything was back to the way it was, but they knew that they could change the world. And so like the horse cart comes by, and all the guys are on the back of it yelling witch at Agatha, but then Sophie like sticks up her magic finger and summons a flock of birds that shit on all of the guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last thing that happens is that, like, there's a portal that's still open to the fairy tale world, and an arrow comes through it, but then a knife comes through it and cuts the arrow in half. And the narrator is like, but they didn't know that their story was only beginning. And then the movie's over.
Whoa! Okay, so putting aside that last part really doesn't matter in the context of the rest of the film, because it's, just there's going to be a sequel maybe. I do like that the conclusion to the School of Good and Evil is the concepts of good and evil being eroded completely.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, like thus creating a world where, like, we aren't bound by, like, a moral binary. I think that's neat.
It feels nostalgic in a big way to me. It's got that, like we said, it's got that, like, Robert Rodriguez child logic. Like, the if you attack, you automatically become evil, and, like, your costume changes by magic and you have no say in it. That's a very Robert Rodriguez thing to happen in a movie.
Honestly, hey, given what you've told me about this movie, even though I know the entire plot, I want to go watch this right now.
I feel bad for Paul Feig, because famously people liked his Ghostbusters movie too much.
Yeah, it was a little too much. They liked it so much that they were like, "Hey, no more Ghostbusters for a while because it's too good."
Yeah, because I do love a lot of Paul Feig's movies. I really liked The Heat.
I'll be honest with you. I thought the 2016 Ghostbusters was all right. I enjoyed it, and there's even an old video on the Dire Gentleman channel of me, like, saying, like, it's funny and maybe we shouldn't mythologize the original, and also the critique. More like the critique, which everybody made it about, like, is just a bunch of people not doing their jobs well. Like, it's like not even close to approaching talking about this movie on its own merits.
I think Paul Feig gets a bad rap. This is a good movie. It's got, like, funny moments. It is very nostalgic because it does feel like a very, like, Sky High, Disney Descendants, kind of, like, almost approaching Harry Potter-esque. Very, like, a lot of whimsy. That's what I would describe this movie's mood as, is whimsical. But, there's, like, blood and violence and people say swears. So it's, like, it's not totally, like, a kid's thing that you might not enjoy as much when you're a bit older. It's got a bit of meat to it.
It sounds like it's one of those movies that is, like, for people who grew up on that kind of stuff to, like, once again sort of, like, sink their teeth into something fantastical that's not connected to any kind of, like, pre-adapted IP. Like, I think that's interesting. And honestly, as someone who, like, when I need to go get my fantasy fix, all too often has to resort to, like, watching some sort of seasonal bullshit isekai anime, I'm glad that there's more shit like this out there.
And
Kingmaker. And also Kingmaker. The big takeaway is you don't have to watch The School of Good and Evil, but you do need to listen to Kingmaker. We will make you listen to Kingmaker because it's a great show. And cool.
Yeah, there's 2 episodes out now.
Super exciting. All right. Well, thank you. And leave down in the comments if you are good or evil.
Yeah, give us what your gimmick would be if you were one of the evil kids.
Yes. So, yeah.
And we'll see you in the near future.
We will see you in the good and evil.
In the good and the evil future.
In the distant past.